Hi everyone, this is looking at the paper 2 writing exam. You'll do this of Wednesday after half term. It's a 2-hour exam with the reading at the start and then the writing for 1 hour as well. Remember, you can swap it though. If you want to do the writing first, feel free. Extra time, you get about half an hour more. Okay, so let's look at the paper 2 writing exam. So here are your 6 tasks: letter, report, review, speech, leaflet, article. You will need to do 2 of these in an hour. They're both worth 20 marks out of 40. So you've got one's worth 20, the other one's worth 20. So you spend exactly the same time on both, and you need to write a minimum of a page and a half, but you should be looking for 2 pages for each task. You must know what you're going to do before you start writing, so you must make sure you do a plan. And this is the structure, and this is the plan that I would use for all the questions, all the writing questions. Doesn't matter if it's a letter, a speech, whatever. So this is a plan, but it's also a structure for you. So you should have a paragraph 1 should be your intro. Paragraph 2 should be your first main point. Paragraph 3 should be your second main point. Paragraph 4 your third main point. And paragraph 5 should be your conclusion. I would do this for all of the questions. Your intro and conclusion should be 2 sentences each, no more. And where you're going to get your marks is your middle paragraphs in blue here. We're looking for 5 to 10 sentences. Remember, sentences, not lines. So count your exclamation points, count your full stops, count your question marks. So with paragraphing, it's a big thing that grade 3 students do incorrectly. So 1 point per paragraph, don't put in lots of big chunks. So say, for example, I was doing a letter about should tattoos be allowed in the workplace. I would do my intro and conclusion, and I would do 3 separate points about tattoos. I wouldn't do what this student has done and just put lots of big points in one big chunk. You will get marked down very highly for that. What we want is the structure, the 5-paragraph structure I've just shown you. So we want to have the intro, first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion. Nice and clear, and that is the thing that you should be looking to do. Okay, try not to have huge sentences. If you have a sentence that goes on for 4 or 5 lines without a full stop on your page of A4, then you need to put a full stop in. I would say if you're on the computer, any sentence that goes over 3 lines on the computer with a full stop, you need to put a full stop in. Do not just put commas in. Remember, sentences over commas. Okay, so with sentences, that's 3 big sentences, which is what we don't want for a paragraph. In a paragraph, we want a mixture of 7 and 8, short, medium, and longer sentences. Remember, using a short sentence for effect will impress the examiner. Okay, so let's imagine the question was, imagine you have a friend or relative who's going to live abroad. I would do intro saying travelling is great, then 3 reasons why travelling is great, and then say goodbye. Okay, I don't do all of those things in one big chunk. I have a paragraph and try to write 5 to 8 sentences for all of them. And do this plan at the top of your answer page. Remember, don't do it on the question paper. That gets thrown in the bin. Do it at the top of your answer before you start writing, and it will really help you. And also, if you don't finish the exam for exam reason, at least it shows the examiner what you were going to do. Okay, tip 2, show off to the examiner, and you probably know this at school from A Forest of De Forest. I've swapped it to dress, so I've taken out the stuff I don't think we need. I don't think we need alliteration, facts and opinions we do normally anyway. So direct address, rhetorical question, exciting adjectives, statistics, sentence starters. If you're not sure, go through Teams. They're all on my PowerPoints, so make sure you try and use these at least a couple of times on each text that you do. And a really simple one to gain you a few extra marks is using sentence starters. So in your middle paragraphs, you could use firstly, secondly, and thirdly, and that will impress the examiner and gain you a few extra marks. So really simple, but if you just do it, remember to use your comma after all of them, and it will gain you a few extra marks. Writing a good intro, a lot of students struggle to get going. Once they get going, they're fine. So the plan will help you for that. Also, here's a look at a few tips for a few intro. Okay, so again, it's the same question. Imagine you have a friend or relative who's going to live abroad. Here's my intro. Dear Joe, I've been told you're considering going to live abroad. In this letter, I'm going to tell you why I think that is a fantastic idea. So the reason that bit is in red is I've taken it directly from the exam question. So the exam question is there to help you. So in your first sentence, use the exam question, and in the second exam question, say what side of the argument you're going to be on, but not why. So in my intro, I'm not saying you can live abroad because you can learn different cultures, learn new things. That is going to be for my middle paragraphs. In my intro, I'm just saying the side of the argument I'm on, but not why. So for all tasks, doesn't matter if it's a letter, a speech, whatever, try to persuade the reader to agree with you, use interesting sentence starters, use dress, minimum page and a half to go for 2 pages, and you've got your 5 paragraphs, intro, conclusion, 3 main paragraphs, and no more on 3 lines without full stop. Remember, full stops over commas. So like I say, this is for all 6 tasks. It doesn't matter if it's a letter, a speech, review, whatever, you need to do all of this stuff. Letter structure. Okay, so we'll go through the structures of all of them. They have slight differences, but basically you'll notice it is the 5 paragraph structure. On a letter, do not do the addresses. Do say dear sir or madam and end with yours faithfully, but don't do the addresses. So we've got our intro, first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion. Again, nearly all of them will have this structure. Make sure you use this structure. Where students go wrong is they don't write enough in their main points. Remember, in your main points, if you're struggling, bring yourself into it. So for example, if you were doing that thing about the question about your friend living abroad, you could maybe talk about where you've been, or if you would want to do it. So bring yourself into it if you're struggling for word count, and write his name at the end. So remember, for a letter, you're going to start, probably if it's a letter, it's going to be a formal letter. So start with dear sir or madam, end in faithfully. If for some reason it is a question about write to your friend, which never comes up, but if it does, write to your friend, you need to end it with sincerely. Okay, if it's a speech or a talk, you say hello, but then again, it's the same structure. Intro, first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion, and then say goodbye. So the only thing different about speeches, say hello and say goodbye. And then for speeches, say hello and what you're going to talk about. Use direct address all the way through. So say you and we to get the audience involved. And again, use rhetorical questions. That will get the audience involved too. Okay, review. Okay, so if you get a review, it will probably either be a film review or a review of a hotel you've been on holiday. So catchy title and a star rating if you can remember. But again, intro, first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion. Okay, the only difference with the review is you're doing a title. You could do subtitles if you wanted to. So review, give a star rating or a mark out of 10, create a catchy title. So instead of it just being the Fast and the Furious, you could put the Fantastic Fast and the Furious. If after 1 minute you can't think of a catchy title, just put the name of the film. And again, try to push yourself with ambitious adjectives. Instead of saying it was good, interesting, say fascinating, amazing, appalling. Again, only spell words that 99% you can think you can spell. Article, if you get an article a bit about questions, something like, write an article about a good day out in England. Okay, so again, I've got my very similar to a review, got my catchy title, intro, slightly different, I've got subheadings this time. So instead of on my paragraph about Bournemouth having great beaches, I put a subheading of gorgeous golden beaches. But then I've got first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion. So with an article, create a catchy title and subheadings. It can be slightly more informal depending on who your audience is. Normally it's for a class magazine, so you can write slightly more informally. Obviously don't use slang. Leaflet, thing to remember about leaflet is it's exactly the same as an article. So catchy heading, intro, first main point, second main point, third main point, conclusion. Remember the leaflet. Things to remember are write exactly the same way as an article. Try and persuade the reader to go to the attraction you've talked about. In that case, it was Monkey World. Really important thing with a leaflet. It may be called a guide in the exam. If it's called a guide, don't freak out and think, oh no, we've not covered it in the lesson. It just means write a leaflet. Create a catchy title and subheading. Do not draw any pictures or fold the exam paper. I know this seems ridiculous, but I have seen people do it in the past. Okay, the last one is the report. The report is probably the slightly more difficult one, and it's slightly different. The main reason it's different is because you've got to write it in a slightly different way, and it's very, very, very formal. So all the other ones are quite informal. This one you've got to write as if you're writing to a business. So instead of a catchy title, a formal title. So you can just call it report. Okay, formal subheading, not a catchy subheading. So I put introduction. But then intro, first main point, second main point, third main point. The main difference with a report is, what a report is, a company, so let's say it's the college, have asked you to write a report saying what's wrong with the college and how you can improve the college. In my report, my first main point, second main point, my first main point was about I thought the catering could be improved. My second main point was the student union could be improved. My third main point was that the student car parking could be improved. So where I've put problem and solution, what I've done is I've put my problem with the catering and then how I will solve it in the same paragraph. And then I've got my conclusion. Okay, so you must keep it formal and business-like. Create statistics. Remember, it wouldn't be appropriate in a report to do alliteration or to do emotive language, but using percentages. So, for example, 98% of people think the college could be improved. And for each of your main paragraphs, describe one problem and how you solve that problem. I've got an example here. So I put, firstly, one huge concern from the students was the catering. 86% of students stated the food was unsatisfactory. The result also showed there was limited veggie options while the food was sometimes served cold. This could be solved by an extra employee being on the counter at all times. In addition, more vegetarian meals should be brought in whilst the food must be served at a certain temperature. So the first half of that paragraph, the first 2 or 3 lines, that's saying what the problem is, and in the last couple of lines, I'm saying how it can be solved. So you need to do that. Okay, make sure you proofread. So it's an hour exam. So what I would try to do is write 25 minutes or just above 25 minutes, and then you've given yourself 6 or 7 minutes at the end to check. These are the things that grade 3 students, I would say, you would need to check. Your there, and there. Okay, so here are the examples and the explanations. If you're struggling with this, look at the revision packs, or if you just go online and type in there, and there online quiz, you'll find lots of quizzes where you can test yourself and they give you the answers. Okay, capital letters again. I'm sure you all know when to use a capital letter. However, when I mark the mocks, people forget to put capital letters on names, places. The letter I. Remember, if you say I am going somewhere, it's always got to be a capital I. Okay, apostrophes again. You can test yourself online with apostrophe quizzes. Remember, we use them for shortening a word, so do not becomes don't. I am because I'm. I know it seems obvious, but so many times I'm doesn't have an apostrophe. I think it's probably because on your iPhone it does it for you. And remember, possession. The pen belongs to Chloe. Chloe's pen. The boy's bedroom. If it's one boy, before the S. If it's more than one boy, after the S. So remember, things to remember in this exam. Finish all the questions. So remember, half an hour each. Once half an hour is up, you move on to question 2. It doesn't matter. You move on to question 2. Remember, they're both worth 20 marks. If you miss out a question, you really are going to be stuffed. You need to write 2 pages for each writing question. Check your there, and there, caps and apostrophes. Keep sentences shorter than 3 lines on a piece of A4. Remember, more full stops, less commas. Do your plans at the top of the exam paper for both questions. Use sentence starters, and when your time is up on a question, move on. There's no point spending 45 minutes on question 1 and then 15 minutes on question 2. They're worth the same. There's no point getting a good mark on question 1 and then getting 2 out of 20 on the second question. Time manage, look at the clock before each question. Any questions, give me a message on Teams. I hope this has been helpful for you. I don't believe it. I don't think I've saved it.